Hey, my name is Sander Haagmans from the Whims of the Great Magnet and from Sungrazer. And you are watching or listening to Doom and Stoned Latin America.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Enjoy Rotter and Color Hayes.
Hola, bienvenidos a Doom and Stone Latinoamérica. Mi nombre es Román Tamayo y el día de hoy tengo el honor, el privilegio de platicar con Sander. Él es un músico muy legendario, ha tocado en Sungrazer y por supuesto tiene un nuevo proyecto, bueno, no tan nuevo, pero ya lleva bastante tiempo con the Whims of the Great Magnet. So, thank you so much for your time and welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, just got a phone call. Thank you for having me. Really
Ah,
great.
ma-
Thank
ma-
you.
ma- Thank you for taking some minutes to talk with me, with everybody here in Latin America. I'm not sure if it is your first interview for Latin America.
Uh, you mean like Latin America? That's like South America and Mexico. Like that's what you
Yes.
mean, right?
Yeah, I love.
I think so. Yeah, I really think so. I've been in contact maybe with some people from South America. People playing in bands. But no. I think this is the first interview. So yeah, really cool.
I feel honored. So the first question is if you can tell us how was your first exposure to music? Do you remember which band or singer impact you as a kid?
Yeah, well, I grew up with a lot of Beatles music. My dad was a big fan of the Beatles, so that was really important in my early years. Uh, and I still love the Beatles, actually. And I think in my teenage years, it's pretty obvious, but I got into Nirvana. That was a big band for me. It's also still is. And from there on, when I discovered Nirvana, I discovered a lot of other stuff, a lot of punk rock music and heavy rock music, and stuff like that. And so yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell uh, the early years. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you decide to start playing an instrument?
Um. Yeah. Well, I was playing the clarinet, in like this. What is it? What's it called? Like this orchestra kind of thing. When I was
Yep.
like 10, 11. But when I heard Nirvana, I decided to pick up the guitar, and yes, from there on, I got into guitar playing, and I was already before I could play the guitar. Actually, we were already in a band. It was a pretty experimental band, actually. We were using keyboards and stuff like that and screaming into a microphone. And I think we were 10 or 11 or something. So that's the first
Wow.
recordings I have. Yeah. The band was called Game Over, because we were playing Nintendo video games. And yeah. But yeah, instruments, yes. And from guitar, I picked up the bass guitar as well when I was me and my best friend were in a punk band, and we were both playing guitar actually, and we didn't have a bass player, so uh, uh, that's always how it goes with bass players, right? Because somebody has to play the bass. So I picked up the bass because he was a better guitar player. And yeah, it's always how it goes, right? But I really enjoyed that as well, and so yeah, and I always loved drumming as well. So yeah, from there on, lots of instruments always interested me.
Do you remember your first concert?
Hmm. Tough one. No, I don't know what my first concert was. Mm, probably probably a Dutch punk band called the Heideroosjes, uh, which means something like uh, flowers, Heideroosjes. Well, it's a Dutch punk band. I think that was the first one. I learned there to how to stage dive and be in a mosh pit and stuff like that.
Wow,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
yeah, it was really great. Yeah.
So how you get involved with this psychedelic stoner music? I know it's pretty related with Nirvana because obviously Chaos is from the 90s, but how do you get involved with all these kind of sounds? Because grunge is more aggressive, it's more raw, and psychedelia is so different. And in the Netherlands, you have a good tradition of psychedelic rock bands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you grow up, you start listening to a lot of different kinds of music. I was also a lot into, when I was like 20 or something, I also got a lot into indie rock and stuff like that, 90s indie rock music like Pavement and Sabado, Dinosaur Jr., stuff like that. But the psychedelic aspect, yeah, well, psychedelic music is also really in the Beatles and stuff like that. I always really enjoyed also like 60s and 70s music. I loved Neil Young, for example. That is also psychedelic in a way. And yeah, well, I don't know. From one thing to the other. Like you said, like Caius has a lot of similarities with Nirvana, for example, and the guys even knew each other, probably. But yeah, I don't know. We just got into that. But first we were playing more before Sungrazer. I think we were playing more like heavy rock music, a bit of blues rock as well. Before we had Sungrazer, we had a band called Reckless Pilots, which was something like a bit more bluesy, a bit more rock and rolly. But we figured out we really wanted to down tune our guitars and get more a little bit more heavy, and that's the point where we discovered like Color Haze and Caius, and we were listening to Fu Manchu, Bram Bjork, all those bands. And yeah, it all the three of us really got into that music, so that's when we decided like we want to do stuff like this as well. And we started down tuning and then started jamming. And yeah, well, one thing led to the other.
Wow. Personally, your debut album is the most my favorite album, the Stoner Rock history. It's something that I connect immediately. I love a lot that album. So, can you tell us how you meet each other and how you start this project, Sungracers? Is a short band, but you create something marvelous, something incredible in this short period of time. So, I would love to hear the story behind this project and all the records. So can we start just with the basic how you meet each other?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, man, and it's a big honor to hear this after like 15 years. It's been a long time since we started that band, and we stopped in 2013. So that's all also like 12 years ago. So it's really cool to hear that you love it so much. It's thank you for that. We met each other well through other bands actually. We were playing in another band, what I just said, like Reckless Pilots. And I don't know how we met. And I played with Rutger in another band actually way before that called Lifter. And that was even lighter than the Reckless Pilot. That was more like surf rock kind of thing. Lots of fun as well. Loved playing in that band as well. So yeah, we just knew each other through playing in bands, and when we were in the Reckless Pilots, I don't know, I think we just wanted to do something else, and we stopped playing with one guitar player in that band, and we just went with the three of us to form a new band actually, and yeah, that is what Sungrazer became.
And I would love to know the creative process of the first songs and the recording process. Also, how you record this album, the specific year that you use, if you remember any specific uh, memories from the record of this album and the creation of these first songs. It's really interesting because when you start a band, you don't have a pressure because this everything flows. It's something unique because nobody knows you, and you have this all this free creative process. So
Yeah.
I think that that's the key of why this first album is so amazing. I really love El Mirador, but the first album for me is the album, you know.
I get it.
But yeah, yeah. So can you tell us all about this record, please?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's that is the beauty of making a first album. That it's indeed completely free, or nobody has an expectation of what you're going to do. So that is really cool. By the way, it's really like a challenge to keep that. You know, if you make as a band a second album, or your 20th album or something, you know, you should actually always try not to feel pressure or whatever, you know, expectation from people. It all doesn't matter. It's all just a creative process, and you can get that, you know, even when you're doing the same band for over 20 years. And some bands are able to do this, you know, bands like Motorcycle, I don't know, King Gizzard and a Lizard Wizard, for example, you know, they are so creative. They release so much shit, and it's every time. I don't think they give anything about, you know, opinions from outside or something, you know.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
that on the side. But okay. But yeah, so the first album, how we recorded it, you want to know?
Yes, yes. And how you, well, the creative process to create these songs, probably, I can imagine you jam a lot. And how was the process before to go to the studio?
Well, we actually, when we just started, we were in a little project. It was actually from my school. I was studying music, and I had a project in my school where I decided to perform with my band in a theater play. Not many people know this, by the way. It's funny that I'm telling you this, but so we were with Sungrazer actually in a theater play. You know, it was pretty funny. We were also, you know, we had like suits on. We were supposed to be angels, so we were dressed like, but different angels, not like white and
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
we had wings at one part, but anyway, we were in a theater play, and in this play, we met a sound guy, Maurice, Mouse Enterprises. That's his artist name. That's also on the back of the cover of the Sungrazer album, and he was doing sound for us there, and he really loved our music. He was also into the same kind of music. He was really into stoner rock and stuff like that. And we had a really cool click with him. And he offered us like, "Hey man, you want to record some songs? I would really love to record some of you guys, and something of you guys." So it was really just because he wanted to do it. We just started recording, and we actually recorded everything of the first album in our rehearsal room. So Maurice, the guy, the recording guy, just came to our rehearsal space, set up microphones, and we recorded. And it was super fun. It was super nice, and we were just trying out, you know, how are these songs gonna be when we record it? And it was, yeah, it was nice. We just went in there. We recorded everything live in the same room. I think we turned the amplifiers to the wall to prevent too much bleed of the microphones on the drum microphones. But yeah, and as for the gear, well, I wasn't playing the Rick. He's in there, there's the Rickenbacker. I wasn't playing that
Yeah.
guitar. I was playing a Fender bass actually, like the Precision, the reissue 51 Precision. Really nice bass guitar as well. That's the bass sound through an Ampeg uh, SVT uh, on an 810 Ampeg cabinet. And Rutger was playing his thin line Telecaster, what he actually always played in Sungrazer. and he was using big muff pedals, the American the big ones. And he always played on the Fender Blues Deluxe amps. And I can't remember if he already had those extra cabinets, but maybe he had two already. I'm not sure, but yeah, and Hans had a really nice Ludwig drum kit back then, and yeah, we just recorded it live, did some guitar overdubs, and I remember when we were recording that first album, we were listening a lot to "Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere" from Neil Young, a record from like '69 or something, and that's also where we got the idea for the multiple vocal layers. We recorded "If" and uh, "Somo," I guess. Yeah, and I had this idea like, hey, let's do an extra vocal layer. Let's do one more. Let's do one more. So it went like 3 or 4 vocal layers. That's what we also really like to do. So yeah, we were just experimenting with how to record our songs with Maurice, and we were really we were really happy with it. I remember we recorded something in the summer, like 2 songs maybe. I think it was "Common Believer" and "Mountain Dust." Yeah, I think so. And then we went on a holiday and we took those early mixes with us, and we went together on a holiday, and we listened to that in the van, in Rutger's van actually, and yeah, that was a really cool feeling to listen to your just recorded songs, and yeah, we were really stoked about it. So that's really the beginning of the band.
Wow, wow, just beautiful. It's just magic. Like, and how you get in touch with Stefan from Electro Hash to release this album?
Yeah. Let me think. What was the connection? We saw Color Haze already before we got in contact with him. Actually, we went to a live show. Not sure. Yeah, we probably met him like fans. Hey, we're big fans and stuff. I don't know if we told about our band or anything, but um, well, before we got to Electrash to Stefan, we actually got signed to a booking agency called Sound of Liberation.
From
If you were sure.
Matter, right? From
Yeah,
Okay.
from Matt. Exactly, exactly. Mate was actually at a festival where we played. He was at Yellowstock, a beautiful Belgian festival at that time. And we played there and we met Mate, and he said like, hey, I would love to book you guys. And so we got in that booking roster, which was super nice because, well, we all all those great gigs and tours we did to the booking agency. That was really cool. Till there, we were doing everything ourselves, which was fun as well, of course. At some killer times with that as well, playing weird gigs everywhere. We just played everywhere, and well, I think through this booking agency, Stefan also, saw what we were doing, and of course, by that time, we already sent him our demo CD. We had these recordings we made from the first album. We had that on a CD, like a yeah. That was actually the first demo before it got out on Electro Hush. And well, at some point, he just said like, "I would love to print the vinyl for you guys. Would you like to join the Electro Hush label?" And that was yeah, that was really a dream come true. I remember I was actually on a snowboard holiday, and my phone rang. I was standing on the snow, I was snowboarding in France, and the phone rang, and it was Rutger, and he told me like, "Dude, we're signed to Electro Hush, and he's going to release our album on vinyl and CD." And yeah, we were so happy. It was all really cool. A big thing
Wow.
there. Yeah,
I can imagine that emotion and feeling. It's the dream come true, as you say. I mean, for many bands in Latin America, is all we always dream. I play in a band too, so we always dream with that moment. So I can imagine the happiness of that moment, and especially for this album. I mean, because it's super special, as I say. So yeah, I mean,
thank you.
thank to the universe that Stefan and also Mate helped you guys, definitely.
For sure, yeah. I think we owe a lot to them. Yeah, yeah.
And well, a year later, you release Mirador. So I have this, I'm curious. So if these songs were writing alongside the debut album, or you create the songs in a different period of time, and how was the challenge to record a second album because you create a masterpiece as your debut album?
Uh, yeah. Well, we don't see it as a like a masterpiece. Of course, we were happy with it. And we yeah, it's just like okay, let's move on. We already had some songs we didn't record yet, so on the second album on Mirador are actually some songs we were playing from almost from the beginning. Actually, we were just we recorded those later, and of course also we wrote some new songs for the Mirador. So it's like a 50-50, I guess. Uh, yeah, I think it also the second album was also pretty natural, but this time we had to we got to choose like how shall we you start to think how are you going to record it? Are we still going to do it in that rehearsal space? I'm not sure if we were even in that rehearsal space back then. Maybe we had something. No, I think we were, but we decided to go to a studio in our hometown Maastricht. It was called the Muziekgieterij. And yeah, it was a really nice place. They had a nice sound table there. And we actually recorded with Maurice, Mouse Enterprises, again for that second album. And it wasn't so different from the first one. Well, it wasn't in our rehearsal space. We were a bit more experienced, playing a lot and everything. But it was still just playing your songs, get into the right state of mind, right groove, and and also really enjoying like experimenting a little bit in the studio. Trying different guitar lines or overdubs, stuff like that, and also with the vocals and everything. So there was still some room for openness. Not everything was completely written, and of course, we tried to implement some loosey goosey jams here and there, and stuff like that. So, yeah, of course, it's a different album, but it was also a lot of fun recording that one. I also remembered crazy ideas like, shall we record with two bass amplifiers? Completely ridiculous, actually, when you come to think of it. But it was fun, I remember feedbacking with the two bass amps, and I remember Shang, a guy who also had a musician who also stayed there at Muziekgeterij. He came by, and we were standing in front of the amplifiers, like leaning on the sound. It was a lot of fun, and it was still just a bunch of friends hanging out and recording. It's not so very professional or something. It's not like we paid like some studio engineer a lot of money, and stuff like that. It's actually the same setup, but only done in a studio.
Yeah,
So
for me, it keeps the essence of the band. It's the continuation. For me, it's just a great album too. I mean, the sound of Sungrazer is very unique. So you develop something really special, like Dozer did, like Caius, for example, Fu Manchu. So when you hear Sungrazers, immediately it's like that. It's not another copycat. band, like in these days, everybody want to sound like a tons of other bands. So you are listening the same band again and again and again. So you create something very unique, and that's why I think you create this mark on this stoner scene or psychedelic scene. So uh yeah, of course, of course. Your final work was a split with the machine, this amazing band. So, can you tell us your relationship with these guys and how you decide to collaborate in this project?
Yeah, we met the machine guys pretty early in when we were playing. It was really before we, got signed by Sound of Liberation, before we even had the first record, I think. Because, back in the day, we were all on MySpace, and which, MySpace, right? It's like this social media for, especially for bands, but it was also for people, like was this social media thing. And actually, through MySpace, we got to know the Machine because we saw this band, from Holland, from Rotterdam or Sweden back then, and yeah, well, they were interested in the same music, and I think they already had Solar Corona, their first album, their second album, out, and well, we just got in contact with each other, like, hey, cool, you're doing that stuff as well, and you're Dutch. Wow, let's play a show together. So we invited them, and we played in a little bar in Maastricht here in our hometown in Holland. And they came by, and we just played, and David's amplifiers were filled to the roof of the bar. Actually, it was a loud band for a bar, but but it was a lot of fun, and we clicked really well with the Machine. We laughed a lot. We went to eat some kebab the same night, and we've been doing that kebab thing ever since at that place in Maastricht. But yeah, so we we just like hanging out together, I guess. And then after that, they also got signed to uh, Electrohush and Sound of Liberation. So we were in that same boat then. So after that, we played together many times, and in the end, we did a long tour together through Europe, which was a lot of fun. I think that was in 2012. Yeah, I think so. After we already had Mirador, and David was actually David from the Machine. He was actually all doing everything himself. He was a guy hands on. Like he recorded his own band, he mixed his own band, he mastered his own band, and he did his artwork. So he pretty much he only didn't release it. That's what Electrohush did for him. Uh, but he kind of said like, "Hey, shall we do?" I think he got the idea. I'm not really sure, but he offered us like, shall we record a split together? How cool would it be to have these two bands on a vinyl split? And because he was recording himself, he was like, I can do it. You can drop by, come to our place, and I can record you guys and record my own band as well, the Machine, and then we can make a split out of it. And that's what happened.
Wow, that's amazing. It's a beautiful split, and it's the exactly moment when both bands develop something really, really special. Solar Corona is probably one of the most amazing psychedelic albums in the modern stoner or psychedelic history. Actually, it's the first press. It costs a lot of money, to be honest. So everybody's asking, so if they're going to reprint or the album. But anyways, it's an amazing work, and the artwork is amazing. Who designed the artwork for this split?
Ooh, I think that was a pretty famous Dutch artist. I think he's called Maarten Donders. He did a lot of like psychedelic artwork also for the festival Roadburn and stuff like that. So he was pretty much already into designing these. artwork things for festivals, I think, and bands as well in the genre, you know. So yeah, I think David got in contact with him. I didn't know him before that, but I got to know him through this artwork actually. Yeah, he did a really nice job. It's really cool and it's really different from the other artwork stuff. So that's nice.
Yeah, definitely. And just to close the history of Sungracers, can you share any of your favorite memories, probably from some tours, some shows, recording process, any memory you want to share with us before to close this part of the history of Sungrazer?
Yeah, favorite memories. It's a lot of memories, but at the same time, I forgot a lot of things as well, you know. It's also really a really long time ago. Yeah, what's a nice memory? Well, I remember, for example, for the split record that we got the idea to make like a movie or like a promotion video. We thought like, hey, let's go to the bowling court because you know if you're going bowling and you have this split, you know you can have a if you
Yeah.
throw for the split like you can have a strike or a split, right? So we wanted to create a split on the bowling court and then film that, and I think we filmed that in the promotion video for the split tour we did together. So we went on a tour actually with that split. So yeah, that was really a lot of fun stuff like that. It's really I think it really was a band. We were just friends who were into the same music, hanging out together, and that's why it was so much fun. It's yeah, all the festivals or shows we could play was really just a night of going out and having a lot of fun. And yeah, well, shit, man. Yeah, there's a lot of memories. I don't know one in particular right now, except for the split story. But
It's really good. And you say something very special. It's about friendship. It's not about fame, money, and like the classic sex, drugs, rock and roll. It's more about have fun, friends, and that's really cool, man. It's good to hear that, and that's the legacy of Sungrazer continuing till this day. Recently, I play some of your songs on national radio here in Mexico City, and I talk with some people, not just in Latin America and around the world, and we always talk about the importance and the legacy of Sungrazer as a band. You inspired the future generations, and I think that's pretty cool. Probably when you create all your music, it was like I just say, just friends having fun, but like at 15 years later, it means something different for new bands, and that's pretty cool.
it's amazing, man. It's mind blowing to think about that. I shouldn't think too much about that, maybe, but it's really cool to hear, and it's a great honor. It's I think we always just wanted to make something we just loved ourselves without any expectation or something like we're gonna do this for because this is what the crowd likes or this is what it was just a thing we created this in our rehearsal space, and we were grooving on our own rehearsal recordings, and constantly thinking about the music. We only rehearsed once a week, but every day in be- in between those rehearsals we were busy, you know thinking about the listening back to the rehearsals, and which is a good tip for beginner bands. Listen back to rehearsal recordings. It's really important, especially in the beginning, I guess. And that's just the thing. It's just about having fun and creating something together. And it turned out, yeah, we had a lot of luck with all the beautiful things that got on our path, and it was a good time.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And your legacy continue. And well, correct me if I'm wrong, but during your time in Sungrazer, you also create the project The Whims of the Great Magnet.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about this project, how you decide to create an alternative band? It's more a personal band, I know, but yeah, why you choose to create something different on the time that you're play on Sungrazer?
Well, I think we always had ideas we couldn't use for the band, which were different. Rutger had that as well. He also had some ideas laying around, mostly acoustic kind of stuff, different kind of stuff. And we sometimes we try to implement those acoustic ideas in the Sungrazer songs. Sometimes it would work and sometimes not. But I think it's always we always had ideas, Rutger and I, you know, outside of Sungrazer as well. And yeah, at some point in 2012, I decided like, hey, I want to try to do a couple of songs on my own. Actually, I also really love recording on my own, so playing the drums, the guitar, and the bass. Um, and yeah, it was just I didn't have any plans on starting a band, starting a new band, but I just wanted to record some songs and see what happens next. So yeah, I recorded those songs in 2012. And also then I was also jamming with other people, like playing those songs, playing different kinds of songs. So it's not because you're unhappy in the other band, but it's just another thing. It's fun to have different kind of things, and I think I always had some other songs as well. I also really enjoy acoustic music, uh, and so that first Whims release was a bit of a crossover. It has some acoustic guitars as well, but it also has fuzzy guitars, and it's a bit of a mix, and just really something that came completely out of me instead of the three of us in Sungrazer. So I think it's both really interesting. So
Yeah, and for me, it's interesting because it's your personal touch there in the acoustic songs, but also can be like a collective sometimes, because you bring a lot of people to jam with you. And I know you release a lot of those jams on Bandcamp. So I love that because it's flexible. It's not like it's just my project and it's just acoustic songs. So you're very open to share the stage with more people, with friends. And as you say in the beginning, it's about friendship. It's about music. It's about to share feelings, to have fun.
yeah,
So I really love that from this project, definitely.
thanks, man. Yeah, yeah. I like that too. It's I think right now it's really the most jammy thing we've been into at this point actually. So I'm really focusing on playing songs, but then taking those songs and really giving into a jam completely. Really throwing it open with everybody who's giving input to that jam. So that's what I really like a lot right now, and yeah, it's like a collective. Yeah, but yeah, we have a lineup now since almost 2 years. I think the same lineup, and it's actually with David from the Machine on bass right now. So that's a lot of fun too.
Yeah, also I want to ask you about this because you continue the relationship with the machine, the friendship, and recently you played together a lot of shows. I'm not sure if you tour, a tour or just a couple of shows, but I really loved to see the continuation. I mean, start with this
Yeah.
grid and continue until now. So, how do you feel to keep this friendship and continue playing with these guys of the machine?
Yeah, well, we just stayed in touch. Maybe there were times when we weren't really in touch, after Sungrazer, maybe a couple of years, not so much contact, but at some point, we started to whenever they played in the neighborhood, I tried to go, and what was the first? I think they celebrated their anniversary with the machine, like when they existed 10 years. They did a nice party in their hometown. And Hans from Sungrazer and I actually went to that party, that gig. And we actually played a couple of Sungrazer songs with David on guitar, which was really cool and really special to do then. And well, we got more in contact with each other again. And after that, the bass player of the machine quit playing with the machine. Hans from the machine stopped. I don't know what year that was. I think it's 2018 or something like that. And then David asked me to play bass in the machine. So I did a short tour with them in the summer. So I played with the machine shortly. Um, and I think also back then, David told me, like, hey man, if you ever need a bass player for the Whims, I would love to play bass because, I'm a guitar player, but I would love to play some bass in another band. So when I felt like getting a band back together years later, in 2023, actually, um, 2 years ago, I asked him to play bass again. So David is now in the Wimps. And then we got the idea now, like, hey, let's play some shows together. And so that was also cool, but it's nothing like a tour or anything. It was just a couple of shows we did together, which was nice.
You should tour together. Why not?
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Well, the Wimps is just a not so like famous band. We play some shows. So we organize everything ourselves. We don't have an agency or nothing. We are pretty much not so well known, around. But the machine still is. They're actually a band who can play some really nice big shows everywhere. So maybe we can go on their success. Like go
Yeah,
along with the machine like that.
that was really good, definitely. And well, I would love to hear about your last album, Freedom. So, uh, what's different between when you start with Sungrazer, as you say, you record these songs in your rehearsal album. It was probably your first contact with this psychedelic war. Well, not your first, but one of your first contacts with this psychedelic stoner rock. But a couple of years later, you create this album, and I would love to tell us the difference between Sungrazer when you record these songs in the beginning and now, like a 15 years later, if you continue with the DIY way, or if you book a show at a studio, the way of recording is different, and of course, definitely the feeling is different. But I would love to hear the big difference between to record an album 15 years ago and now with this new one, Freedom.
Uh-huh. Well, Freedom, that album is
Oh, you pronounce Freedom.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Sorry.
no worries, no worries. It's a wordplay with the word freedom, of course, but also with frying, like like frying your head, stuff like that. Uh, but Freedom is just a record I recorded on my own. So that's I think that is the biggest difference. It's not recorded with the whole band, but it's recorded just by me. So that is pretty much the biggest difference. But as for the recording process, I think you learn some stuff through the years, but I still record pretty much the same way as I did back then. Only with Sungrazer, we had another guy who was recording us. So you have somebody else who's recording you. That's also like a different vibe, I guess. So Freedom is really just here, the studio you see here. I just recorded that here, and it's really just actually like a home studio recording. So it's just me freaking out a little bit. Yeah, that's it.
But at the end, that's the part of the magic, right? It's because it's super personal. It's not a band or people bringing new ideas. So it should be like in this way, on that way.
Yeah.
It's just cool, and that feels and that's personal, and I think that's cool. And that's the big difference, as I say, between your personal works, your albums, and the jams that you release on Bandcamp, because jams are more like a collective. So yeah, that's cool. And I want to ask you, if people want to get merch or buy a record, where the people can contact you.
Um, through mail, that's like the whims of the great magnet at gmail.com. Uh, also through Bandcamp. The whims are on Bandcamp. The whims of the great magnet dot bandcamp.com. And also through social media like Instagram or Facebook. So you can also send a personal message there. So yeah, that's the contact.
So, do you have any plans to tour with this band, to release a new album? What's next for this project? Because, as I say, it's super personal.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is that sometimes I'm just alone, you know, whenever I record some songs alone, then it's like a solo project, but you know, I would really love to record more stuff now with the band actually. So I'm hoping on making some new material with the whole band to make it a like a group effort again, because we are having really nice jams right now. But we don't rehearse much, uh, hardly ever actually. But that's also a fun thing. We just see each other a couple of times a year, and we just try to kick out as many jams and songs as possible. Well, not kick out. I was thinking about kick out the jams, but have some jams and create as much music as possible in that short rehearsal time we have. And yeah, I'm hoping to do some things with the whole band soon. We are actually trying to uh, plan something to work on some new material. So yeah, but everybody is pretty busy, especially like David from the Machine is pretty busy, and our drummer he plays in a band in different kinds of bands as well. Jonathan Frederiks is our drummer, and he plays in Heisa, a pretty great Belgian band. And so we have it's hard to get the band together. We can't rehearse as much, as when you have some friends who are living really close to each other. We live pretty spread out. So, but that also has some interesting things about it. It's yeah,
Uh, that would be really cool that you release something like a band, a full band. But also, it would be really interesting if you continue doing like the guys of Causa Sui, with the
yeah,
San Diego stations. So Jonas basically traveled to US and record with several friends. So you keep continue doing that. I can imagine a jam with Stefan from Color Haze, or maybe the guys of Rotor, or maybe Sula Basana. That would be crazy, It's like imagine you release an album with all these. I mean, for me, are legends, for
yeah,
heroes. But that would be really good, man.
yeah. Of course, it's nice to keep things open, and maybe that's a little difference, with Sungrazer. We were really like this tight unity with the three of us. It was like a really close family kind of thing. But right now it feels way more open, and I think I'm also a little bit more, uh, purposely trying to be more open to possibilities. Also in the music. I try to be as open minded as possible, and let it go where it needs to go.
Yeah, definitely. And well, I have a last question, and it's more like a personal question, and I hope uh, I can translate the idea properly. But in your daily life, what values and actions do you consider important for being a better person? For example, be honest, be a volunteer in an NGO, helping others, spend time with your family. And also related with this question, what advice can you share with all the people to become a better human beings? Because we live in a crazy world with a lot of issues, especially in places like in South America, Latin America. So I would love to share more like at the human part or hear the human part from you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a big question. I think it's, being kind, of course. Yeah. Well, just be kind. I think it's as simple as that, you know, be kind to one another. That's, that's what I would say, I guess, and for me, important values, of course, I would say like peace, peace and be kind to one another. But what's important for me as well is like to be open minded as well, to have your mind open. That's really important for me as well, and I try to implement that in my music as well, which like that's how a jam works. I love that. I love that in life as well, and also like being more in the moment is something really important for me as well, to you know to live in the moment, and as far as politics go, I think it's really hard, but what's going on in the world right now, it's so much shit, of course, but yeah, peace.
That's good. I mean, thank you so much for share that words with us. And of course, you have a point here. Live the moment is always important because you don't know what's next. You can go outside and bad things can happen. I mean, you can even die in your shower, taking a shower. So living the moment is the way. And yeah, definitely peace. Be kind with the others. It's the key, especially in places where everybody's divided. Like you can see the world, Mexicans and Americans doing you know, stupid things. So I think you're right with this advice. So thank you so much for sharing that kind of words with us.
Yeah, okay, you're welcome. Thank you for again for your kind words as well, and think
Well, yeah, it's been a pleasure to talk with you, Sander. I always want to talk with you definitely because I'm a huge fan, but I don't want to sound like a crazy fan from South America.
No, no,
but
no.
I,
It's really cool. But by the things you tell me, I can tell you are really into the music, and I'm curious to your music as well, because I try to check. I haven't seen what band you are in, so I'm curious to that as well. But I can tell you are really into the music, and that your heart is also in this kind of stuff, and that's amazing to hear. That's really good.
Yeah, and well, your legacy continue until these days, and you're continuing inspiring new generations. And please keep doing music with the wings of the great magnet, and keep jamming, please. And if you have any news, please share with people here in Latin America. It's a lot of people who really listen to you and really care about your work. So yeah, thank you so much for take some time.
Hey, my name is Sander Haagmans from the Whims of the Great Magnet and from Sungrazer, and you are watching or listening to Doom and Stoned Latin America.